welcome to Across the Fence. I'm Jolie Whitney. Maple, whether in syrup, sugar, or in creamy form, speak for itself. But it never hurts to spread the word about Vermont's signature crop or to educate the public about what it takes to make the sweet stuff. Our guests today are the reigning Vermont Maple ambassadors. In the second half of our program, my colleague Keith Silva will introduce us to Keegan Bryant. First, it's my pleasure to introduce Keegan's counterpart, Hannah Branon, who serves alongside Keegan as the 2023 Vermont Maple Ambassador. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And when you started, in your bio, it says that you guys were working with horses and buckets. Do you miss the old days?
Yeah, so I was just a little tyke when we first started with the horses and buckets. So I have vague memories of trucking through the deep snow with the horse and buckets, but looking back, that's what made us so strong. That was the heart of Maple at the time, and now the heart has totally changed, and we continue to evolve each year.
And how many gallons does your family produce each year?
So right now we're about at 50 barrels so far in the season. This week definitely has ramped up with the sunshine. The south's been running great. We've been very busy.
And do you prefer working in the woods or the sugar house more?
Definitely the sugar house for me. I enjoy seeing everyone. We always have an open door. Canning the syrup, producing all the good stuff is very fun in the sugar house. But we definitely help in the woods as well, pulling taps, tapping the trees, checking lines, all that stuff.
And you mentioned how much you guys have produced so far, but on a regular year, do you know how much you'd usually make?
We're actually right on track with our regular years. So typically at this point of the season, we'd be at about 50 barrels, and we're hitting that mark, which is a big deal. So definitely been a pretty good season so far for everyone in our county.
All right, and you've been the Maple Ambassador all year, and we were actually talking before the show. Your
Yes.
time is almost up, but you must get tired of answering all the same questions about your Maple experience.
Definitely not. I think it's so important to spread the message of Maple. It's such a big deal in the state of Vermont. It's our culture in Vermont. Looking back to the Big E, I did a lot of Maple education, and I never got tired of asking or being asked the same questions. It's such a big deal for people to understand, and have that education around a food product is something that I think is lacked in our society. So having that education on a whole food product is something I find great value in spreading.
And we talked about the Big E a little bit, like
Yes.
big fairs and stuff like that. Can you tell me a little about the events you'll usually do over the year?
Yes, so it starts with the Maple Festival, which is located in St. Albans. Very smaller scale event compared to the Big E, but it's a very good way to kind of get your toes wet in the idea of maple. And after that event, you can do other little fairs. So Franklin County Field Days is another one we attend. Then we go larger scale to the Big E, Vermont Day. That's where all the flashy cameras are, and you're meeting a whole bunch of different people. And then we kind of tone it back a little bit for the fair, and then we come into the spring season ready to sugar, ready to spread the message, and here we are.
And other than the Big E, which of course is a huge production, do you have a favorite event in Vermont?
I would have to go with Franklin County Field Days. Ever since I was very young, I worked in the Maple Shack there. My family's very big in maple there. It brings a lot of people in from the community. There's a lot of rides and all that stuff, but the Maple Shack, everyone hits up the Maple Shack. So it's very fun to work there and see everyone.
And you've been telling the story of how maple is made and produced and your life with it essentially
Yeah.
for the whole year, and your family as well. So why do you think it's still important to keep telling that story?
It's the heart of our family. It's the tradition of our family. Maple has a pretty big impact. For example, our family just built a new sugar house just recently. Everyone in the community stepped up, helped us, and we were able to pull it together for this season, which was remarkable looking back. So it's very much a community feel. Everyone has their backs, and sugar makers all around are very willing to help in any way. They're very strong and resilient, so I think it's important to share that tradition.
And do you have a favorite maple product other than maybe just traditional syrup?
Probably the maple cream. That is such a versatile product. Toast, bagels, donuts, fan favorite. And at the Big E, we actually put some maple cream in a little tiny cone. People loved it, and people were so shocked that the only ingredient in that cream is maple syrup. So sharing that versatility of the product was amazing to see.
Yeah, and can you speak a little to that versatility that you've seen? What does your family make with it?
So we can just sell it in the jug, but at the local farmers markets when we display our products, little bit on fruit, all that fun stuff. And then maple sugar itself is just boiled down maple syrup. So when people learn about that, they're just astonished with having that natural sugar. You can put it in coffee, that's my favorite too. Coffee, milk, ice cream, all that stuff, creamies. all that is just 100% maple syrup.
Do you have a regular question you get from the public when you run into them at big events?
Probably how many taps does your family have? And my family itself is very much smaller scale. We're at just over 10,000. Other branches of my family are much larger scale, but seeing how we all produce the same product and we still have that same tradition is very cool to see.
And you've been the ambassador for the whole year now. What's the best experience you've had?
The best experience was watching a little girl in the Big E taste maple for the first time. Being able to witness that face to face was super cool, and it's something I'll never forget. The smile that was displayed on this child's face was something you just see in pictures. It was awesome to see. And I wish someone had captured it at the moment, but it was just cool that she had a little taste of Vermont's tradition for the very first time at the Big E.
And your life is more than maple. Can you tell me a little bit about what grade you're in and what you're studying?
Yes, so I'm a freshman in college. I work full-time as a medical assistant at our local urgent care in our community hospital. And then I go to school as well, and I'm studying nursing at Vermont State University in St. Albans.
And what do you hope to do with that? Do you want to keep working in maple at all, or are you looking to go into...
So maple is definitely something more on the side that I do. It's a big passion of mine, so I never see myself not being involved in maple, but ever since I was little, I knew where my home was, and it's in Fairfield in Franklin County, so I definitely want to work as a nurse at our community hospital, helping the lives of the people that make our community go around. So.
And you're hanging up your ambassador sash very soon. Do you have any advice for the next ambassador?
It goes by super quick. Make the best of every moment. Take a leap. Don't be afraid of the cameras, the interviews, all that stuff. Just be yourself, be natural, and spread the word of maple.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And it's time to apply to be a 2024 Vermont Maple Ambassador. This program offers a $2,500 scholarship to 2 individuals, a young man and woman. This scholarship competition is open to any Vermont student age 16 to 21. Potential candidates do not have to come from a family of sugarers, but they must have knowledge and experience about maple production. Visit the website on the screen to learn how to apply. And now let's join Keith Silva, who's with the other half of Vermont's Maple Ambassador team for 2023.
Thank you, Jolie and Hannah. When it comes to maple syrup, you can never have enough. And so it is my honor to introduce Hannah's counterpart, Keegan Bryant of Paulette, Vermont. Keegan and his family operate Bryant's Maple in Paulette. They have 4,500 taps and make about 700 gallons of syrup, Keegan says, so far this year. Welcome to Across the Fence.
Yep, thanks, Keith. Glad to be here.
Oh, we're very glad to have you. You have a very interesting story about how you got started in sugaring. Tell me that story.
Yeah, so basically some of my earlier memories of the sugaring industry were growing up in my grandfather's sugar house. We had about 5,000 at the time. We were making about 1,500 gallons of syrup a year on a 5x14 oil rig setup, and he actually had to stop sugaring in about 2014 because of medical reasons, and I started doing a little bit on my own. Started with about 15 taps, and now we've grown to where we are now. I've got about 4,500 out now, and looking to expand.
Looking to expand. You said after you sort of took over for your grandfather, you started in a 2x2 pan.
Yep.
Give us a sense of how big that is.
A 2x2 pan, flat pan, is about that size.
Okay.
I just built it up on some cinder blocks in my backyard and had a little campfire going under it. I probably made a gallon of syrup that year, and yeah, now our my setup is probably about half the size of this set here.
And I said in my introduction, it's you and your family, but it's really you. I'm not only talking to the Maple Ambassador, but I'm also talking with a businessman.
Yes.
That is your Bryant Sugar is you.
Yes. Yes.
Excellent. Do you use any technology, RO, things like that?
Yeah, I have a 1,800 gallon per hour reverse osmosis machine, which is a game changer in the sugaring industry. My sap is coming out of the trees at a little bit over 1% on average, which is not great sugar content. That's almost 80 gallons of sap to 1 gallon of syrup.
Right.
So with this RO machine, I'm running it to about 16%. So if I have 1,000 gallons of sap, I'm ROing it down to about 100 gallons of concentrate to boil. Mm-hmm. So it's a game changer for me. Just
more syrup from
less sap.
Less sap, exactly. What is your responsibility? We've heard a little bit from Hannah, but what is your responsibility as a Maple Ambassador?
My responsibility as a maple ambassador is to educate the public on the truths of the maple industry. There's a lot of people that don't quite understand how a lot of stuff works with the maple sugaring industry, and they have different ideas that may be wrong or right about it. My responsibility is to educate them in a positive way and teach them the benefits of our industry and how everything really works.
And people don't know what they don't know, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's anything else if you don't know about it. So you get some interesting questions. I've been on shoots and at sugar houses when sugar makers gets asked some interesting questions. What's the best or weirdest question you've been asked?
I had someone ask me one time if you had to cut a tree down and burn it to get the syrup out of it, which I guess is a valid point. You know, everything used to be wood-fired, and people, if you've only heard certain things about sugaring, you might think that you have to burn the tree to get the sap out of it.
Right.
But that was probably the most interesting thing I've heard.
And you quickly disabuse them of that notion.
Yes.
You let them know that's not how it works.
No.
What's been your best experience being a maple ambassador? What have you enjoyed?
Well, my favorite part is I've gotten to meet a lot of people in the industry in the state that I've been able to learn a lot from. It's been a great experience to meet other sugar makers that are more experienced than me, and I've been able to learn from what they've told me about what they know and their operations. I've got to visit a couple different operations because of it. I've gotten to go to some workshops that have to do with sugaring and climate change and what we're going to have to do in the future to keep our industry sustainable.
So you're in it. This is what you want to do. You think for a career, at least in the springtime.
Something with it in the springtime. I do other stuff in the summer too, but I'd definitely like to stay involved in the sugaring industry for a long time. I love doing it.
And we should also say you're still in high school, right?
Yes.
Where do you go to school?
I go to Granville, New York High School.
Okay.
And I'm a junior.
Okay, so there's time to build your empire even further.
Yes.
Keegan, thank you very much for talking with me today.
Thank you, Keith.
Thank you. Our time has sugared off, so to speak, on another Across the Fence. My thanks to the crew behind the scenes here at WCAX. Special thanks to my counterpart, Jolie Whitney, for her help, and Hannah Branon, the female Maple Ambassador, for their help earlier. And as always, thank you for stopping by Across the Fence, or as Jolie likes to say, have a good one.